Hi everybody, I'm Rick with Bestop, and today I'm going to walk you through the installation of the Trektop Ultra by Bestop. We're putting this one on to a JL 4-door Unlimited. Bestop designed the Trektop Ultra to be installed at home. We think you're going to be able to do this, but if after reviewing the online guide or the installation instructions, if you're maybe not so sure, check out bestop.com. You can have the Bestop home installation service come right to your house to do the installation at your place, or work with your local distributors and they can hook you up with an experienced professional that can get it done for you as well. The kit comes with all the parts you need to complete the installation. Everything's included in our installation instructions here. I really recommend that you take some time to get familiar with that before you get started so that you know which parts are where and how they're going to get used as you begin putting them on your Jeep. So just to get you familiar with some of these parts, we have the front upper door rails, the rear upper door rails, lower door rails for the rear, your lift assist assemblies, side rail assemblies, all the hardware you're going to need in order to put this together. We'll cover each of these before each step and what tool you'll need to put them on. We have some door rail covers, some sport bar brackets, grills for your door rails, clips for the stiffeners on the quarter window, tailgate bracket retainers, some optional tie-down straps, seals for the number 1 bow, tailgate bar, and your crosscar bows. Before we get started putting stuff on the Jeep, we're going to pre-assemble the rear door rails. And if you look, you'll notice there's a little sticker on some of these parts that has a part number in case you have any questions when you're referring back to the assembly instructions. This might help you figure out which side is which or maybe which part goes where. To complete the rear door assembly, you're going to take the U-clips and we're going to put them on to the rear upper. Now there's a little barrel right here on the side. That's going to go to the top because your screws go from the bottom up. There's a notch right here. You just press those right into place. And then you're ready for putting in the screws. The screws we're going to use here are M6 by 20 screws, and it's a 4mm Allen. Now starts the cool music in the background. Now we're going to do the other side. Put the decorative grills on. Take some time. Look at the bottom ones here. You'll notice there is a right and a left. You want to make sure that you separate those so you get the correct one for the rails. Those go into position and you put them on using the small screw and a T8 Torx. After you get that side done, go ahead and repeat those steps for the other side. And one really great thing about these grills is if you want to customize your Jeep a little bit, you can paint those any color you like. We're at the back of the Jeep here and we're going to put on the rear door rail. Make sure that you have the correct side, the rear pieces are going to mount on the belt here, and you put it right up on the sport bar. To secure the door rails onto the Jeep, we're going to use these M8 by 80 long screws and an M8 20 short screw with the washer. These go on the sport bar and this one goes down on the belt rail. The long ones go up through the bottom clamp and screw into the insert on top. After you get this side in, let's get the other side. We've moved back to the front of the vehicle now to put the front door rail on. You can make sure you have the sides correct. The front, towards the windshield, will have this little notch, and the back has a little step. Tuck that step under the rear, and then position it onto the sport bar, and snap it in place. We're going to secure that in place with the long M8 bolts and a T40 Torx. After you've installed the door rails, double check all these seals here to make sure that they're in the correct position and not pinched and caught underneath. I've moved to the back of the vehicle where we're going to put on the sport bar brackets. The first thing you have to do, there's a trim piece that's here. We've already taken it off. You just remove that, set it aside, and then we're going to put our brackets on. The brackets have two posts that are going to go into the round hole and the slot. The one at the end goes in the slot, and the one that's closer to the middle is going to go in that round hole. We're going to attach this using the M8 by 28 screws using a T40 Torx. After you get those tightened up, repeat that for the other side. Our next step here at the rear of the vehicle is to install the tailgate retainer clips. You'll notice there's a little post on the side. It tucks right onto a hole that's on the belt rail there. And you install that using the long screw with a T50 Torx. After you tighten that up, get the other side. The next step after that is going to be installing the lift assist assemblies. Now this looks like a lot, but it's going to go on pretty simple. The way you tell the right from the left is there's a little plastic cover that's going to be on the inside of the vehicle, and the bow is going to be going up and towards the front. Before we put that on, we have a small strap here that just gets put onto the bracket at the bottom. To put the lift assist onto the sport bar bracket, there's 3 threaded studs that go into 3 spots on the bracket. You're going to use an M6 nut, and just get those finger tight. Don't tighten them down all the way. We'll come back later and snug them up. Make sure you get both sides. Our next step is going to be installing the side bows here. Now I know this looks like a lot, but all of this is going to make it a lot easier for you to operate that Sunrider portion when you're putting it up and down because it prevents it from kind of dropping under its own weight. Now, you need to know which side's the left and which side's the right. This is the left side. It's got a bracket with 2 holes that's going to eventually go to the front. It's got a flat spot with 1 hole. This is the rear. And this little tab with the roller, this is going to be to the outside, and it's facing down for when we put it into the guide track on the door rail. So we've moved up here on top a little bit to show you how to put this on. So these tabs that are all facing to the inside of the vehicle, I've also opened it up a little bit, and we're going to come on top, and the roller is going to go inside the guide track and slide towards the front. We're going to install the side rails to the lift assist bracket using the shoulder bolt, the thick bushing, and the thin bushing. The order for assembly is the bolt, the thick bushing into the bracket, the thin bushing, the shoulders go to the inside, and then you attach it to the bracket. When you tighten that up, make sure that that little shoulder on the bushings are inside the hole on the stamping. We're going to tighten that up using a 10mm socket. After you've got that secure, put the cover plate on and secure that with 2 M6 screws and a 4mm Allen. After you've completed those steps, repeat on the other side. Now we're moving on to installing the number 3 and the number 4 bows here at the back of the vehicle. You'll find those in the kit. They're the ones that have the radius on the outboard ends, and they are just a little bit different. The 4 bow's a little longer than the 3 bow. And you can tell that if you stack them up one right next to the other and line them up. The longer one's the one we're going to start with. We're going to install these bows using an M6 by 25mm screw. Now you can see in the kit there are 2 that are almost the same, one's just a little longer. We're going to use the shorter one for installing these. We're going to attach that bow to the bracket, making sure that the radius is pointed down, and the screws are going to go through the bow into the bracket from the rear to the front. To do the 3 bow, you put that in front of the bracket and the screws go in towards the rear. To install the 2 bow, first thing you need to notice is there's no radius on the end. This is just a gentle sweep cross car. The high part goes in the middle and the low on the outboard ends. It goes in front of the bracket and the screws go towards the rear. We'll finish this step by putting 2 more screws in on the other side. We've moved back onto the table so we can pre-assemble the stiffener clips to the quarter windows here. But I want you to take some time and really take a close look at these clips here. You'll notice that they're just a little bit different. They have an angle that's different from right to left. And if you look super close on here, you're going to see a part number and some letters that tell you which one's right and which one's left. When you turn the stiffener on the quarter window over, you're going to see which side is the right or left. It's got some marking on there to show you. And then that clip is going to get attached to the 3 holes at the top. We're going to complete that pre-installation with the M5 screw and nut and a T25 Torx. Rotate that stiffener over. You'll see the countersink. That's where the screws go in, and then they bolt on from the inside. We're going to repeat that same step on the other side. We've moved back up onto the table here to show you the next step. What we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 screws on each side off so that we can complete the installation of the side bows once we get that back on the vehicle. Remove these screws using a T20 Torx and make sure that you set these aside and you know where they are because you're going to reinstall them after you complete the installation. Make sure you get both sides before moving to the next step. So now we're ready to start putting the soft goods onto the Jeep. What we've done is, in preparation for getting this put up on top, is we've set it on the hood of the Jeep here. But you need to be super careful when you're doing that. You might even put something over the hood just to make sure nothing gets scratched up while you're completing this step. It really helps to have a friend. You grab the fabric and the one bow here and you just kind of rotate it and put it up into place on the windshield. During this part, we're going to attach the bracket at the front of the side bow to the number 1 bow. So you need to make sure that this is on top. We're going to put the side bow down so the 2 slots align with the bosses on the header. To secure them, use an M6 screw with a 4mm Allen. You may have to adjust this a little bit to get everything to line up in the slot. After you've got this side, repeat that with 2 screws on the other side. After we got those side bows secure, we're back down on the ground where your friend's going to help you move that fabric over and on top of the Jeep. Just be real careful because that rear bow is attached onto the fabric. So when you move it, it just slowly gets put over the top. Now that the fabric is in place here, we're going to lift the one bow up a little bit and let those gas struts hold it in place. And we're going to replace the screws that came out in the earlier step. Before we reattach the flap to the one bow here, we want to make sure that the cable, if it's come out of the sleeve on the side, gets tucked back into position. And then you roll that around and replace the screws that we took out in the earlier step. After you've done that step, repeat with 2 screws on the other side. After securing the screws on the flap, we're going to put the foam seal on. The foam seal has a small radius at the front that aligns way up here with the one bow, and then it has a much larger radius at the back that's going to align here with the rear. Just pull off the release paper, align it with the curves, and press down to put in position. We're going to put this seal on the other side. We've moved to the back of the vehicle where we're going to install the rear number 5 bow to the lift assist. So to put that in position, the bow goes on top of the brackets and the screws go from this side towards the rear. We're going to use 2 M6 by 30, these are the longer screws, and a T30 Torx. The next steps require the plastic push pin and the small sheet metal screw. This uses a number 2 Phillips. To secure the fabric flap on the outboard end, you'll see there's a hole and a matching hole in the bracket. We're going to use the plastic push pin through that hole and then just press it into the hole on the lift assist. The second flap is going to wrap around under the bow and screw into a hole here on the bow. It's going to work a lot easier if you can pre-install that screw through the small hole that's drilled into the flap. Take it easy when you're doing this. You don't want to screw your fingers with that sucker. All right. That outboard flap goes under the bow and around and then aligns with that hole, and you screw it down with a number 2 Phillips. Don't forget to repeat that on the other side. To install the cables on the rear bow, you're going to use the binding posts. Now they might have come screwed together or separate in the kit, but there's one side that's hollow with the threads and the other side that screws into it. We're going to start with the post, which has the hollow portion from the inside of the vehicle out. We recommend you use a little super glue in the post section as a thread lock, and then that goes from the inside of the vehicle out through the bracket, then the flag on the cable, and then the threaded portion. After having completed that last step, we're going to fold the Sunrider open and fold the whole top into the down position. To unlock the lift assist, pull the yellow levers to the up position. After the top's in the down position, we're going to tighten the nuts on the lift assist brackets. Do not over tighten those, just to 7 foot-pounds. We're going to tighten these nuts up using a 10mm socket or a 10mm wrench, but make sure not to over tighten them, only to 7 foot-pounds. Make sure to get those nuts on the other side. Now we're ready to put the top back into the up position and close it and secure the latches. When you pull down here, just be careful not to pinch your fingers. To secure the one bow to the windshield, you want to get the hook onto the latch receiver. To do that, you pull the handle down, press the hook forward, and then up on the handle. Repeat that on the other side. For this step, I've climbed right up inside the vehicle in the back seat here. This is where we're going to attach the deck to the frame by putting the fabric around the bows. This step's real easy. There's hook and loop on each side. You just wrap one side around and then the other to secure. To do the 3 and the 2 bow, I've moved up to the front seat, but they attach the same way. Works a lot easier if you start in the middle and work your way to the outside. Now we're ready to put on the quarter windows. So I've moved to the back of the Jeep. This is the left side quarter window. You can tell which side is which because it's straight up and down at the front and flat at the bottom with the angle at the back. Here on the stiffener is the clip that we pre-installed, and that's going to go right onto the rear bow at the top. Tuck the top part of the quarter window under the deck, but outboard of the door rail. And then we're going to install the plastic retainer strip into the channel on the door rail. We're going to do just a few inches at the front of the quarter window here on the belt rail before we move to the back to make sure that's secure. After you get the rear corner in, you can finish the bottom of the quarter window. To put in the rear window, it's going to help to make sure you got the right side up. So the top has a plastic retainer sewn in, and the bottom has a couple of tabs along with a retainer. On the top, you slide it into the C-shaped retainer that's on the rear bow, and it goes all the way across. To secure the rear window at the bottom, we've got the tailgate bar. Now the tailgate bar is an aluminum extrusion that has a little C shape on the end That's going to slide over the retainer that's on the rear at the bottom. It's got a little bit of a crown to it that faces towards the rear. The rubber seal faces down and towards the rear of the vehicle. Just slide it into place. To secure it at the bottom, these little plastic ends go underneath and inside this portion of the retainer. It might help to line everything up and then kind of push and rotate it into position. So to secure the sides of the rear window to the quarter panel, the long plastic retainer slides into the channel that's on the quarter window. Once you get this side, repeat that step on the other. The last step for installing the rear window is to tuck the small retainer under the belt. Make sure you repeat that for both sides. To wrap it all up, pull the fabric down and secure all the hook and loop on the back and the sides. Thanks for joining me today on the installation of the Trektop Ultra by Bestop. I hope that you had as much fun putting it on as I had showing you how to get it done. If you have any questions at all, contact us at bestop.com or contact our customer service department and we can get you help right away. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you out on the trade.